Hello comparison test viewers, and welcome back to another All Cars Everyday video. You guys voted on what comparison test you wanted to see this week, so here I am standing with the 2020 Toyota Tacoma, and we're going to see how it stacks up against its rivals, the Ford Ranger and Chevy Colorado. It's worth noting that the Tacoma is the only one that stayed true to the segment, as the American manufacturers deemed it not profitable enough in the past couple years to sell their trucks. However, all three trucks have returned to the segment for the 2020 and 2019 model year, so let's see the other two trucks. This is the 2020 Chevy Colorado, and when this generation truck came out in 2015, it was extremely competitive in the segment. Let's see if it can hold on to its edge for the 2020 model year. This is the 2019 Ford Ranger, which is back from the grave it was confined to in 2012. I'm comparing the trucks on a scale from 1 to 10 in 7 different categories for a possible total of 70 points at the end of the video. Furthermore, I'm comparing the trucks at the mid $30,000 price point, which means I'm comparing specific trims of each truck, and I won't be adding any options or packages to any of those trims. More specifically, I'm comparing the Ranger XLT to the Colorado LT and Tacoma SR5. With that out of the way, let's check out the updated Toyota. The 2020 Toyota Tacoma SR5 4x4 double cab has a 3.5-liter V6 with 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque. Power is routed through a slightly older 6-speed automatic transmission and part-time 4-wheel drive. Goodies underneath the cab include an electronically controlled transfer case and Toyota's automatic limited slip diff, which allows the Tacoma to choose to send power to the wheel with traction versus applying the brake to the wheel without it and cutting power. Naturally, this is important for heading off-road or living in the snow belt. All the equipment on this truck is good for a 7.7 second 0 to 60 run. The 2019 Ford Ranger XLT Super Crew 4x4 comes standard with a smaller 2.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder or EcoBoost in Ford speak. It has automatic stop-start in the name of fuel economy, and it makes 270 horsepower and a healthy 310 pound-feet. The modernness of the powertrain continues past the crankshaft, though, as the 4-pot is mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. The transfer case is electronically operated with a low range of 2.717. The rear differential is open with a ratio of 3.73. It can get to 60 miles per hour from a standstill in 7.3 seconds, edging out the Toyota. The 2020 Chevy Colorado LT Crew Cab 4x4 has a 3.6-liter V6 with 308 horsepower and 278 pound-feet of twist. It has an 8-speed automatic transmission, square in the middle of the other two trucks. It has an automatic electronic transfer case, but has an open rear diff like the Ranger with 3.42 gearing. The 0 to 60 time is the fastest of the group at 6.1 seconds. That's more than a second faster than the next fastest Ranger. The Tacoma has an older engine and transmission, and the age of the powertrain is starting to show. However, the limited slip diff brings a couple points back to the table. It's going to get an 8.2 out of 10 for powertrain and performance. The Ranger has a modern powertrain with a boosted engine and a transmission with 10 forward gears, which is a plus. It's going to get an 8.5. And the Colorado has a lot of power and the fastest 0 to 60 time. It's getting an 8. Let's now move on to the functionality of each truck, where I aim to evaluate how well the trucks can do what they're intended to. This is essentially the statistics in terms of towing, payload, ground clearance, and approach and departure angles of each truck. The Tacoma can haul 1,155 pounds in the bed, and it can tow 6,400 pounds. Its angles of approach and departure are 29 and 23.5 degrees respectively. Ground clearance on the Toyota is a relatively big 9.4 inches. The 2019 Ranger gets 28.7 inches in front and 25.4 out back. Ground clearance is rated at 8.9 inches, and the vehicle can tow a maximum of 7,500 pounds and put 1,560 in the bed. The Colorado has a max payload of 1,551 pounds and can tow up to 7,000. Ground clearance is 8.3 inches, and it can drive up inclines of 17.3 degrees and down them up to 22.1. Blame that approach angle on the front bumper and air dam, which are trying to make the Colorado more aerodynamic. In this category, the Toyota comes out ahead in ground clearance and does well in approach and departure, but is limited when it comes to hauling. The Ranger does better in towing and nearly matches it in off-roading capability. The Colorado is the loser here with the worst off-roading capability of the group and middling hauling. 9 for the Ranger, 8 for the Toyota, and 7.5 for the Colorado. The Tacoma SR5 4x4 double cab starts at $35,190. On the exterior of the truck are projector beam headlights, daytime running lights, and fog lights. Other features on the outside are 16-inch wheels, heated mirrors, and the rear window is power sliding. The tailgate is lockable, and there's a skid plate for the engine and front suspension. Out back, there's a handy 120-volt AC outlet for charging needs outside of the bed. Now let's move on to the interior, which is opened up by the keyless access system. On the inside, it has fabric seats but a leather steering wheel. The front two seats have power adjustment. More specifically, there are 10 ways of adjustment for the driver with 2-way lumbar support, and the passenger gets 4 ways. On the steering wheel, there are hand controls for the Bluetooth and driver information center, and it's mounted to a manually adjustable tilt and telescoping column. Behind it sits the instrument cluster, where there is an analog speedometer and tachometer. In between those two is the 4.2-inch driver information center that controls features like trip distance, fuel economy, tire pressure, and more. The audio system in the Toyota plays through 6 speakers. It's controlled through the 8-inch screen in the dashboard that also has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Amazon Alexa standard. HD radio, advanced voice recognition, a subscription to both Sirius XM and in-car Wi-Fi, and 3 USB ports also add to the audio experience. Finally, drivers are prevented from being blinded by traffic behind them, as the Taco comes with an automatically dimming rearview mirror. The Ranger XLT is $34,295. The wheels here are an inch bigger at 17, and it has daytime running lights and fog lights like the Toyota. The headlights are halogen, and the tailgate is power locking. In this truck, the rear window is fixed, but the second row windows are powered. To get into the truck, it has keyless access, similar to the Toyota. However, it also has auto lock, where the truck locks itself without any driver intervention at all when they leave with the fob in their pocket. Inside, the Ford has fabric seats and 4-way manual adjustment and lumbar adjustment for both front seats. The Ranger has an app for owner smartphones that allows them to start, lock, unlock, and check the vehicle status of their Ranger. This suite also brings 4G LTE Wi-Fi to the cabin, but again, all of this is on a subscription basis. The Ranger has a single USB port up front, but 2 12-volt outlets in the cabin for further electronic needs. The steering wheel is urethane and mounted on a tilt and telescoping column. It has controls for the media and gauge cluster. Speaking of which, the Ranger has 2 analog gauges on the sides with a 4.2-inch screen in between them for the driver information center, just like the Toyota. The cabin of the Ford has 6 speakers and a standard rearview mirror with a manual dimming option. The Ranger only has Ford Sync, which is a very basic and small LCD screen above the climate and radio presets. It's laughable compared to the Toyota and Chevy, but to get a bigger screen with more functions, even something as basic as Sirius XM, buyers will have to opt for the equipment package. All of the XLT Rangers I filmed had this optional equipment, but that would jack up our test price. At least it has voice-activated Bluetooth. Another classic Ford feature is present on the Ranger called Ford My Key. This allows parents to control how fast the truck can travel, how loud the music can be, and requires seatbelt usage to set the vehicle in motion. It's especially helpful for controlling new teenage drivers. The Colorado LT begins at $35,495. On the outside, it matches the Ranger's 17-inch wheel size, but it also adds heated mirrors like the Toyota. The headlights are halogen, and the Colorado has DRLs, but is missing standard fog lights. The tailgate is power locking like the Ford, and like both other trucks, there is remote keyless entry. Once inside, the driver's seat is 6-way power adjustable with 2 ways of manual adjustment for the passenger. The interior is fabric like the other 2 trucks, but the steering wheel is leather. Like the other 2, it has a 4G LTE Wi-Fi subscription and 6 speakers inside. The gauge cluster has a single 4.2-inch screen surrounded by 2 analog gauges like the other trucks. The interior has 2 total USB ports and a manually dimming rearview mirror. The technology in the Colorado is more in line with the Toyota and the industry in general, with an 8-inch screen in the dashboard hosting Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, HD radio, and Sirius XM. The Bluetooth of the vehicle can also be controlled by voice like the other trucks. The Colorado has Chevy Connected Access, which is a fancy name for the app that allows owners to remotely start, lock, and unlock the truck. Finally, like Ford's My Key, the Chevy also has a teen driver setting that even gives parents a report card of how their teen was driving. Now that we've been through the standard features of each truck, it's time to assign points. The Toyota is well optioned at this price point and is less than $1,000 more than the cheapest in test Ford. The only things that seemed to be lacking were 17-inch wheels and a power locking tailgate, but it offered full power seats, heated outside mirrors, and an auto dimming rear view. It's going to get a 9 out of 10 in this category. The Ford was the cheapest as mentioned, but compared to the Toyota, it offered significantly less than just $900 worth of missing features. That's why it's getting a 7.3. The Colorado seemed to match the Taco better, but even still it costs more. 8.2 out of 10. I'll be looking at the active safety features of each vehicle, as well as showing the IIHS ratings of each truck. The Toyota comes standard with a healthy variety of active safety technology, as the company has made this suite standard across every vehicle they sell. It includes a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, lane departure alert, automatic high beams, and dynamic radar cruise control. The Tacoma also has trailer sway control. The IIHS scored it a rating of good in every category except small overlap for the passenger where it got acceptable. It also got a score of marginal in headlights and ease of use for the child seat anchors. The Ranger scored literally the exact same from the IIHS, but comes with slightly different standard safety features. It has a pre-collision system with automatic emergency braking, a blind spot information system with cross-traffic alert, automatic high beams, a lane keeping system that includes alert and assistance, and trailer sway control and dynamic hitch assist. The Colorado disappointed when it came to active safety, offering no traditional active safety technology standard. It scored good everywhere in IIHS ratings, except it got poor for its headlight rating. It also got marginal for the child seat anchor's ease of use and small overlap on the passenger side. The Toyota is getting a 9 for safety as it felt more than adequate for a truck. The Ranger does even better, scoring the same from the IIHS and having slightly better active safety, 9.5. Bringing up the rear is the Colorado with a score of 6.5. I hate to score it so low, but with no wins in IIHS ratings over the other two and being completely barren when it comes to helping out inattentive drivers, I have no choice. I get the statistic from Consumer Reports, which tries to objectively rate each vehicle on a scale from much worse than average to much better than average, of course with average in the middle. The Toyota and Ranger both score average, with the Colorado coming in at worse than average. Each step up in the ratings results in a 1-point increase in the score in this category, so the Toyota and Ford both get an 8, and the Colorado gets a 7. The Ranger sips the least fuel with an EPA-rated score of 20 miles per gallon in the city and 24 on the highway. This is to be expected, as the Ranger is the only 4-cylinder model here. However, it's worth noting that turbo engines notoriously do well in EPA testing, and sometimes do worse in the real world if the driver has a heavy foot. And by heavy foot, I mean just an average driver. The EPA test sequence is extremely dated. The Toyota gets only 18 and 22, and the Colorado has a big spread of 17 and 24. 9 for the Ford, 8 for the Toyota, and 8.2 for the Chevy. This is the only subjective category I evaluate, so what I think looks good could be completely different for you. All three of these vehicles don't vary much in exterior styling at all. They have horizontal headlights in the same spot, in the same size on the front of each truck, and vertical taillights in the same size, in the same spot on the outside of the tailgate for each truck. At no point is any truck not good looking, but there's almost zero variation. I guess the Tacoma and Ranger stick out a little more, especially from the front, but this difference is really negligible. On the inside, I think the Colorado is probably the best looking, or at least somehow the most modern. In comparison to the Toyota, it's much more simple and easy to look at and use. Though the Toyota's dashboard begins stylish from the top, as soon as it drops below the screen of the dashboard, there are lots of buttons and convoluted surfaces, which is a Toyota staple for some reason. The Ford just seems pressed for space to put things, and the general design seems the oldest. It seems to date back to the Tonka truck Ford designs that started in 2004. The Colorado's more rounded, more car-like, and less tacky. The Colorado gets a 7.5 in this category, the other two get 7. These are the total points for each truck after we've been over the 7 categories. As you can see, this was a fight between the Toyota and Ford, with the Ford coming out ahead. The Chevy's just no longer competitive, which kind of makes sense since it hasn't been revisited by the brand since its 2015 introduction. Ironically though, the Tacoma is essentially unchanged since 2016, and it's done a much better job of not being dated. And I think the Ranger has been serving reliably in other parts of the world mostly the same since 2015. I just think Toyota and Ford have done a better job meeting consumer demand to keep their models current. But I also think that the next generation Chevy is going to enjoy a year or two of complete dominance if it's redesigned before these other two trucks, as the market is really that competitive. Thank you for watching.